So just about the class, we are doing a yoga class, so let's make sure that we're on a yoga mat or we're on some sort of carpeted area, anything like that. Oh, we have one more admit, so we'll work with that. Awesome. Awesome. And so just making sure we have a yoga mat or some sort of carpeted area, maybe a block or a block-sized object like a small box or a book, something like that. Make sure to have some water, which I will not be cueing any water breaks, but I will be drinking a lot because I'm dehydrated. So I encourage you to do the same. And of course, this is a virtual class. I can't be there in person with you guys, unfortunately. So just making sure to listen to your body, make sure to have that mind-body connection. If anything feels like it's painful in any way, absolutely just, take a step back, breathe, and, get yourself out of a position as safely as you can. And of course, if you need to shout out, you can unmute yourself and talk to me. So other than that, I'm just going to go through a little informed consent that I have for you guys. So in order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we will be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of class. Participation in this class is completely voluntary, and physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. We strongly recommend that you do participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you have moved any nearby furniture or other potential hazards. If you are participating in a yoga class like this one, or any other class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend using a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. I've said all that before, it's all good. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience any pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that every participant have an annual physical examination and follow the health advice of your healthcare provider before participating. So that was a long spiel, but it's very important. So just basically making sure to listen to your body. And if you need any help, you can absolutely talk to me. Also, as a reminder, I'm going to stay on the Zoom call for a couple minutes. So if you wanted to, you can, stay after and just chat, and I will absolutely stop recording. So if you just want to chat with me, I would love to. I love having friends. So I think without further ado, I'm going to get started. So wherever you are, we can get started. Maybe in the center or the top of your mat today. And we're just going to start in a comfortable mountain or Tadasana pose. Making sure to ground ourselves from the bottom all the way upwards. We're going to start by finding just the three corners of the feet. Making sure to find them, if you need help locating them, they're right underneath the pinky toe, the big toe, and the heel. And if you want to, you can take a moment to just sort of find the weight and change your weight between all of those. And then eventually coming back to a place of stillness and strength, we're going to lengthen up through both of the feet equally, making sure we have a nice micro bend in our knees throughout the entire practice today to save our knees. We're going to lengthen up the entirety of our back, try to grow maybe an extra inch. Try to be a little bit taller. We're starting to draw some awareness to our breath today. So you may hear me breathing a little bit loudly to encourage you to keep breathing. We're going to externally rotate our shoulders. Good. And then just making sure that our heart is shining open and making sure that the top of our head or the crown of our head is shining upwards. And starting to draw awareness into our breath. Maybe taking the role of the observer and pretending that we are not ourselves, but we're just observing the breath here. And I invite you to keep your hands maybe at the side, or maybe bring them to heart center, or maybe even I invite you to bring one to your abdomen or to right below your diaphragm, and one to your chest or your heart. And maybe just taking a moment to feel where the breath is sort of located today. Some people tend to breathe a little bit more from their abdomens, and some people tend to breathe a little bit more from their chest. Both are absolutely good and good for different things even. And maybe just taking a moment to notice where our breath is today. And trying to slow down our breath, maybe deepen or widen every inhale. And every exhale, maybe breathing a little bit of intention, a little bit of love into every breath. And every time we exhale, maybe we just let go a little bit of nerves, let go a little bit of stress maybe that we've been having. Wonderful. And when you're ready, we can start to think of maybe an intention that's going to serve us today. So, as you guys may know or you may not know, an intention can be a mantra, it can be a place, a person, anything you want in the world that you want to dedicate today's practice to. So, if you guys would like to borrow mine for today's practice is going to be to work inwards, not work out, which I think is very applicable, especially to yoga, because every time we step on the mat, we are trying to work inwards and focus on ourselves and feel good. All right, so when we have whatever intention, may it be mine or your own, we're gonna bring our hands to heart center, and we're gonna breathe lots of love in today to set in that intention, and then exhale lots of love out to let go of everything that is not currently in our mats today so we can really focus on ourselves. Wonderful. So once we have that, we're going to start to bring a little bit of movement into our bodies. We're going to inhale our arms all the way up to the ceiling and really lengthen up with both hands equally. Our palms are nice and touching. If we look up at the ceiling, maybe we look in front of us. And we can bring our feet together so they're not hip width apart. They're just very, very close to one another. And maybe you want to just lateral stretch over to one side. Trying to lengthen all the way on the left side and also on the right. We're not crunching into the oblique, we're just lengthening equally. And exhale back up to center. And inhale over to the left side, or whatever side you haven't been on yet. And exhale back up to center. Maybe do this one more time. Over to that first side. Maybe you can stretch a little bit deeper than you did the first time. And back up to center. And then over to the second side. And back up to center. Good. And maybe bring our hands to steeple mudra. So just our index fingers are touching, the rest are down, still above our head. And maybe we just draw tiny little circles on the ceiling. Just tiny little circles, trying to just move the upper body, trying to keep everything below your rib cage pretty still. And then maybe we find the other direction. Remembering to breathe. Good, and then finding stillness. Maybe we bring our stance to be hip width apart again. And then we can slowly flat back all the way down to a forward fold. We're going to find our hands to feet stretch, or I like to call it gorilla. So maybe bending our knees as much as we need to. Maybe our abdomen touches our quads in order to get our hands down onto the ground, and we relax our head, relax our neck. Maybe we shake our head yes. Maybe we shake our head no. And then when you're ready, we can start to peel off one foot and then place the same hand underneath. And then maybe we do the same with the other one so that both of our hands are underneath our feet. And as we breathe slow and deep here, maybe we start to relax the head and the neck a little bit more. Maybe we can massage our feet out with our hands or hands with our feet. I know it sounds funny, but I really enjoy it. All right, and whenever you're ready, we can peel out our hands one at a time and replace them back onto the mat. And with a big inhale, we're going to come all the way back up, reverse swan dive, back up to standing, maybe hands through heart center, and then back at our sides. Wonderful. We're going to go into a chair or Utkatasana pose. So here, I'm just going to turn over to the side so you can see. Basically, we're going to start just with our hands at heart center. And if you have a block here, that would be very helpful. If you want to, you can place it right in between your quads like so. So we're just going to start by lengthening up through the back, and our heart is shining forward. We engage our core and we slowly just send our hips down and back, and we sit as if we are sitting in an invisible chair. And trying not to crank our neck upwards, but just letting our cervical spine just continue and let our gaze be where it is. And even though we're starting to work our core and we're working our quads, we're still breathing. Deep and slow. And when you're ready, we can push back up to standing. We're going to do this one more time. And you can either do exactly what we just did. I'll turn to face you guys. You can either do exactly what we just did, or you can place your hands above, or you can even place them behind, and maybe you want to come onto your toes. So those are lots of things that you can do, but you don't have to do them. You can stay right where we were last time. So cleansing breath in and a cleansing breath out. And when you're ready, we can send our hips down and back, engaging that core, back into our chair. If you want to challenge yourself, you place your hands somewhere else. Maybe you come onto your toes. Maybe you sink a little bit deeper into that chair. That gets these fired up a little bit more. Breathe in here. Good. And we're just going to stay here for one more slow breath cycle. Beautiful. And when you're ready, we can press all the way back up with lots of control. If you want to shake it out, you want to do a little dance, adjust your clothes, whatever you need to do. And when you're ready, we're going to move our way up to the top of our mat if you're not already there. We're going to do a nice dandy warrior two sequence. So we're going to start in our strong mountain pose that we found at the beginning of our class today, lengthening upwards, heart shining forwards. It's a place of rebirth, renewal. So cleansing breath in, cleansing breath out. Maybe start with our hands at heart center. And we'll send our right foot back into a warrior two pose. And we're just going to make sure that that back foot is on a 45-degree angle facing the front. And our left front knee is going to be bent about 90 degrees. Our knee is not coming in front of our heel here. And breathing here, we're going to inhale our arms up so that they are right in front and in back of us. Maybe check in back of you just to make sure that your hand is right where you think it is. Return your gaze to the front. We're going to flip that front hand and slowly send it to the sky. Lengthening up through the entire left side of your body. Lengthening upwards. And then you can flip that left hand and send it back. And we can tuck that left hand in and send the right above for an extended side angle. And the entire right side of your body is nice and long and straight, so that if I were to put a ball right at the top of your hand, it could just roll all the way down. A little slide. And when you're ready, you can place that left hand on the mat and the right goes directly above, or bent knee triangle. Inhaling and exhaling. And when you're ready, you can straighten that left leg. I don't know if you can hear my hip pop. That was loud. And we can fall down that right hand all the way down to the mat. And then find a spinal twist here, a twisting triangle. So we lift the left arm all the way up. Maybe you want to keep your gaze right in front of you. Maybe you want to bring it to the ceiling. And we can fall down that left Arm down to the mat and lift the right back up. And we can bend that front knee back into our bent knee triangle. And engage the core and come back up to standing. We're back in our warrior two. Maybe take one more cleansing breath cycle here. Feel nice and strong after everything we just did. We're gonna bring our hands to heart center and then float back up to our mountain pose. Good. Maybe shake it out. We're going right to the other side. You can stay right where you are. I'm just changing position so you can see me. Good. So whenever you're ready, we're going to engage the core and do the same thing on the left side. Sending it back into a wide stance on a 45-degree angle, 90 degrees bend in the knee. And we're going to inhale our arms in front and in back of us, making sure that they are parallel with the mat, with the floor. And we're going to flip that right hand and slowly send it to the sky. Lengthening up, maybe reaching upwards as if you're reaching for something. And on your next exhale, we send that right hand back down. And maybe we tuck it in and send the left arm above for an extended side angle. Remember, lots of love in, lots of love out. And when you're ready, we can let that right hand come down and the left reaches above. And we can straighten that right knee. And we can rainfall down that that left hand, and reach the right up above to the ceiling, finding a nice twisting spine here. And once again, your gaze can come up to the ceiling or it can just go right in front of you. And maybe we rainfall down that right hand back down to the mat and slowly lift that left hand above. We bend that right knee, engage that core, and slowly send ourselves back into our strong warrior two. Breathing slowly and deeply here. We bring our hands to heart center. And when you're ready, we can flip back up to mountain. And once again, maybe shake out anything that needs to be shaken out. Maybe we roll out our ankles. Maybe you want to grab some water. Sweet. All right, we're going to go right back to the top of our mountain, or the top of our mat in our mountain. We're going to do a similar thing. We're going to do a triangle series, or a pyramid series, excuse me. We're going to send our right foot back in a medium step back, so not as far as our warrior two. We're going to be on train tracks here. We're going to inhale our arms above, palms to touch, lengthening upwards. And engaging the core, we're going to hinge at the hip crease. Slowly controlling ourselves all the way down until our pinkies touch the mat. And when our pinkies do touch the mat, we can frame the foot with our hands. And maybe relax the head, relax the neck. Maybe you shake your head, yes, shake your head, no. And remembering to breathe here, I invite you to find some dynamic movement, which can include just shifting your weight between both feet, maybe bending your knees at certain times. Basically doing whatever your body says it needs here. Yoga is all about just listening to your body and what it needs. Good. We can bring our palms back to touch. Lengthen upwards, and we're going to slowly come back up to our standing pose. All the way up. And we're going to bring our hands in front of us, and we're just going to slowly start to peel back with our left hand to open up on the left side of our mat now. So this is a nice little twist. And maybe we peel back up to the front. And we peel back on the right this time, which maybe feels a little bit open, maybe a little bit new to you if you've never done this before, but we embrace newness. And we're gonna peel back up to center. And we're gonna peel back on the left side again. Maybe we're able to twist just a little bit deeper this time. And then peel back up to center. And bring your hands to heart center. And float back up to mountain. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on the left side. Gotta make ourselves nice and even. We're going to float back our left foot into our left pyramid, making sure that we are on train tracks. And we're going to inhale our arms all the way up, above our head, palms to touch. And lengthening upwards, maybe grow that extra inch before we start to hinge at our hip crease until our pinkies touch the mat. And when your pinkies touch the mat, once again, you can frame your foot with your hands and relax your head, relax your neck. Releasing any tension. And once again, I invite you to find some dynamic movement here. Breathing lots of love and appreciation into our hamstrings and our quads here. And then eventually coming back to stillness and meeting me with your hands, palms touching each other, and engaging the core, lengthening all the way back up to standing. Good. And you can bring your palms in front once again. And we're going to peel back on the right side this time. So we're trying to twist from the rib cage and not from the shoulders, not from the hips. And then peel back up to center. And peel back on the left. Once again, this is a nice, interesting, open sensation. And we're going to peel back up to center. And then peel back on the right side once again, maybe twisting just a little bit deeper than you did before. And peeling back up to center, remember your hands to heart center, and then float back up to our mountain. Wonderful. We're going to go into a couple of balancing poses next. Nice and fun. So remembering to engage your core for all of these, which is super, super important. Good, we're gonna start in the middle of our mat now. In a strong mountain pose, we're gonna bring our palms to touch. Maybe grow that extra inch. It's easy to hunch over just a little bit, maybe just lengthening upwards. We're gonna start by finding just a micro step forward with our left foot this time. We're gonna lengthen upwards and flex through that right foot. And if you'd like to stay here, this is absolutely a full extension of the pose. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you can start to hinge at that hip crease. And then go as far or not as far as you'd like. Making sure to find a drishti or focal point and engage your core to help balance just a little bit easier. And of course, making sure to dial down your toes, making sure our hips are nice and even. One more cleansing breath here. And then slowly come back up. Lots of control. And you can replace that right foot back down. Good. Maybe roll out your ankles just a little bit. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So coming back to our mountain. We're just going to take a micro step forward with the right foot this time. Lengthen up through the left. And flex through that left foot. Once again, if you want to stay here, that's absolutely good. Or you can continue on your journey. Dialing down those toes, micro bend in the right foot. And engaging that core. I promise it makes it easier. Breathing also makes this easier, so if you're not breathing, if you're holding your breath, I strongly recommend that you don't do that. And one more cleansing breath cycle. And you can come back up to standing. And replace that foot back. Maybe do some joint freeing exercises. Wonderful. And we're going to find a tree here. I love me a good tree pose or Vrikshasana. We're going to start in the middle of our mat and just bring our hands to heart center. We're going to bring in that right foot just a little bit close, maybe bring off the heel, lengthen upwards, and with your foot still on the mat, we're just going to externally rotate it, trying to keep our hips, the heads of our hips shining forward as if they're headlights on a car. And if you want to stay right here, this is wonderful. This is tree pose. If you'd like to take another bus stop, you can also come up to your calf or bring it up to above your knee. And just breathing here and trying to balance. Maybe you want to grow your branches upwards. Maybe you're a snow-covered tree in the winter. I've been loving the snow in Williamsburg. Breathing slow and deep. And we can bring our hands back through heart center. And start to internally rotate that leg and slowly send it back, making sure that every time we come out of a position, we're doing so with lots of control. Good, we're gonna do the same thing on the left side. So we're going to shift our weight into the right foot and bring up that left. Maybe externally rotate it while still on the mat, trying to keep our hips nice and square. And on an inhale, we're gonna bring it somewhere up on our leg where you can keep it on the mat. Just making sure not to place it on your knee. Trying to protect our knee here. And engaging the core, lengthening upwards. If you'd like to, you can grow your branches. Remembering to breathe here. Even though we are in a balancing position, I promise it is easier if you breathe. And it's just a nicer experience. Good, and when you're ready, we can bring our hands back through heart center and start to internally rotate that tree and place it back on the mat. Maybe you roll out your hands or your feet. Good. And wherever you are, you may want to take a 90-degree turn, and we're just going to find a wide-legged stance here. We're going to do a wide-legged forward fold, but we're going to play around with the tabletop a little bit. So, taking a nice wide-legged stance, a lot wider than hip-width apart, as you can see. You can bring your hands to heart center. You can place them out to the side. You can put it above you. You can place them at your hips. Whatever floats your boat. You're going to lengthen upwards, engage the core, and just maybe go to tabletop here. Engage in the core. We're going to stay here for a moment. Breathing. And then slowly maybe come back up to standing. Noticing how it feels to just go a little bit and then come back up. Engaging that core. And making sure that we are hinging at the hip crease. And when you're ready, we can slowly go back down to tabletop. Pause through tabletop. And then when you're ready, you can continue on your journey. Maybe place your hands on the mat. Maybe you want to bring yourself a little bit closer to the mat. If you're really flexible, maybe come onto your forearms, or you can press away with your palms and look up at the wall in front of you. And there are lots of things you can do here. If there's any stretch that you would like to take that you know, you can absolutely go for it. Otherwise, I will go through a little bit of a side lunge. So when you're ready, we can start to press into and just bend that right knee into a side lunge, trying to keep our feet right where they are and just shifting the weight, the balance of weight distribution here. Once again, maybe you want to exhale and just melt a little bit deeper into the mat, or maybe you want to press away. And when you're ready, we can come back up to neutral and then start to bend into the left knee. Breathing some appreciation and love into those hamstrings and those quads. And maybe we come back up to center. And here I invite you to reach for your opposite elbows and just relax your head, relax your neck, and maybe swing like a rag doll a little bit. And we can plant our hands back on the mat. Engage the core. We can place our hands wherever they were earlier on our way down. And slowly come back up, maybe pausing through our tabletop. And then continuing on our journey. Wonderful. And then maybe we just heel toe, back up to standing. Maybe shake it out. Maybe grab some water. And we're going to go onto the mat next. So either you can just sit down any way that's comfortable, or if you'd like to, you can yogi squat with me, or Garland Pose. So just finding a little bit of a stance, a little bit wider than hip distance apart, and send your pelvis a little bit under, and then just squat down. Maybe sending our elbows to the inside of our knees, and eventually finding a comfortable seated position. We're going to take a moment to just find a bound angle here, or Badakanasana, and just take a moment to connect with the earth. This is our first time really truly sitting on our mat today. And maybe we close our eyes or find a gentle, soft gaze in front of us. Circling back to our intention that we set for today's practice. Maybe slowing down our breath, maybe slowing down our heart rate a little bit if we can do that. Good. And then maybe blinking your eyes back open. We're not done with our practice yet, but it's nice to just sort of circle back in and connect with your mind, body, spirit connection once again. So when you're ready, you can move from your comfortable seated position onto maybe a tabletop position. And to find our alignment here, we're going to make sure that our wrists are directly below our shoulders, our knees are directly below our hips. And if we were to look between our knees, we can't see our feet because they're directly behind. Good. And we're going to start by finding a couple of cats and cows. We're going to start by inhaling and drawing the gaze up the wall in front of us, drawing the navel down to find our cow. And then in a nice smooth transition, we're going to draw our belly button up and our gaze down to the mat on an exhale for cat. And on an inhale, we find cow once again, navel to the mat. And exhale, navel to the sky for cat. And here you can continue a couple rounds of cat and cow at your own pace. And then just listening to your spine, listening to your body, whatever it wants today. If you want to find some lateral stretches, you can look over your right shoulder and look over your left shoulder. If you want to, you can do little circles. Whatever feels good in your body today. Maybe you even want to find a relatively quick child's pose and just press back. Once again, yoga is all about doing what makes our body feel good, what makes us feel good about ourselves. So listening to that body is the most important thing. Good, so we're going to come back to a tabletop at your own pace. We're going to tuck the toes and send our hips all the way up to the ceiling for down dog. This is our first official down dog of the practice. So if you want to take a moment and just walk out the dog. And then pressing the heels back into the mat. And try to keep our hands and our feet right where they are. Let's just shift our weight forward so that we're in a plank here. Badakanasana. Cool, and you can stay here as long as you want, but if you want this to be over, you can just slowly let yourself come down to the mat. And then just relax. Maybe let your third eye rest against the mat. We're going to keep our hands right underneath our shoulder heads. We're going to draw the elbows in towards one another. Our toes are untucked. We're going to take a cleansing breath cycle. And then on your next inhale, we're going to find a baby cobra. So without any weight in your hands, you're going to inhale up and just let the upper body come off the mat. And making sure not to have the neck sort of crank upwards, but lengthening up through the back of the spine just as much as the front. And we're still breathing here. And on your next exhale, you can let your upper body come back down. Third eye meets the mat once again. When you're ready, we're going to do this one more time. We're going to inhale off. Lengthen through the front and the back of the cervical spine equally. And exhale back down. And for this last cobra, we're going to start with a baby cobra and then press upwards through into a king cobra. So on your next inhale, we're going to press up off the mat. And then when you're at the top, you can start to press all the way upwards into our king cobra. Not holding our breath, we're breathing deep here. Maybe we look over to the right side. Maybe we look over to the left. And we come back to center. Maybe press our shoulders away from our ears for one last nice alignment stretch. And press all the way back down into the mat, exhaling down and really melting into the mat here. Good. We're going to find a locust pose here. So letting our arms just rest along with the rest of our body, and our third eye is on the mat. We're going to do basically what we did in Cobra, but with our lower half of the body. So keeping the upper half right where it is, we're going to draw the feet right next to each other, engage the core, and on your inhale, we're going to draw both of them upwards. So our lower body is off the ground, nice and tight. We're engaging, we're squeezing our glutes. And then we exhale all the way back down. We're going to do this one more time. So on your next inhale, we're going to inhale up and squeeze through the glutes, squeeze both of the feet up. Maybe we feel the sensation of we're zipping up the feet together. And exhale back down. And then maybe putting the two together, the Cobra and the Locust. We're going to keep our hands right where they are. And on our next inhale, we're going to bring all of them up together. So inhale, and we bring the upper body and the lower body up off the ground at the same time. We're squeezing the core, we're squeezing the glutes. Our arms are off the mat. And when you're ready, we can slowly let ourselves come back down. Good. And we can bring our hands right underneath our shoulder heads once again and slowly press ourselves through our tabletop. Maybe you want to take a moment and do a little bit of cat and cow at your own pace. And eventually meet me in a child's pose. Good. And then we're going to press back up into our tabletop, and maybe we just let our feet come in front of us. We're going to meet in Adandasana here. So basically with both of our sits bones on the mat, you're going to shift down a little bit because we will end up in Shavasana. And with both of our feet are flexing and we're lengthened up. Maybe you just want to find a seated forward fold. So just planting your hands down and walking them out. Finding a nice stretch before the end of our practice today. And remembering to just relax your head and letting the weight of our head and our neck just carry ourselves a little bit closer into our knees. And we're inhaling lots of love in, and we exhale just a little bit deeper into the stretch. And when you're ready, you can plant your hands back on the mat and just gently walk yourselves back up to our Adandasana. And then letting our hands come forward, engaging your core, we're just going to slowly let ourselves rest back into a Shavasana. So finding a comfortable laying down pose. Maybe letting your eyes come to a gentle gaze in front. So maybe you're looking up at the ceiling above you, or maybe your eyes remain closed for the rest of our practice today. And once again, starting to circle back to your intention that you had for the beginning of your class today. And circling back, taking back that role of the observer with our breath. So we're slowly inhaling. And we're slowly exhaling everything on the mat. And allowing everything to just melt into the mat a little bit. So every point of contact, your sits bones, your feet, your hands, your head, are all just melting a little bit deeper into the mat. Take a moment to appreciate what you did today on your mat and everything beforehand. Take a moment to be grateful that you have the opportunity to be on your mat today. Slowing down that breath just a little bit more. And maybe taking a slow body scan upwards from your feet to your shins, to your hips, and your abdomen, your heart, and all the way up to your head, your mind. And also take a moment to soak in what you did during today's practice, all of the asanas, all of the wonderful breaths that we took together. Maybe notice how your body or your mind or your spirit maybe feel a little bit better, maybe a little bit lighter after today's practice. And when you're ready, you can shift your weight maybe onto the left side of your body and place your hands on the mat and just gently press yourselves up. Taking your time, coming out of our Shavasana today and just meeting me in a cross-legged or just comfortable seated position to round out our practice today. Maybe we blink our eyes open, maybe we keep them closed. We're going to bring our hands to heart center. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. I had a lot of fun. I hope that you take everything that you experienced today and you learned today on your mat, and you take that with you when you leave your mat today. So once again, I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to stay on if you would like to talk about anything, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, or if you just want to talk. I love friends. So thank you again so much. I will be here this time next week, same link. And I would love if you join me again today or next week. Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night.